the United States has launched a stunning and frankly shocking military operation right in the heart of Venezuela. So today, we're going to break down exactly what went down, why it happened, and what this could mean for, well, everyone.
And really, this is the one question that's on everybody's mind. To even begin to answer it, we first have to get a handle on what actually happened on the ground.
So let's start there. Let's get a really clear picture of the incident itself, because this all unfolded incredibly quickly.
So picture this. It's dawn, January 3rd. The day kicks off with the sound of U.S. fighter jets roaring over Caracas. Before anyone could really process what was happening, special forces were already on the ground, taking over key locations. Then, throughout the day, a wave of coordinated strikes hit the city. It was pure chaos, and by late afternoon, the Venezuelan government had declared a national emergency. I mean, think about that. An entire capital city was basically brought to its knees in less than half a day.
7. In just those first few hours, at least 7 massive explosions were reported across the capital. That number alone tells you everything you need to know about the scale and the sheer intensity of this assault.
So what were they hitting? Well, the targets tell a story. This was no random bombing. We're talking about surgical strikes on military bases, on airports, on communication hubs. The goal seems pretty clear, right? They were trying to completely dismantle the government's ability to fight back, or even talk to its own forces.
And then, the bombshell, the announcement from the U.S. president himself. He claims this wasn't just an attack, but what's known as a decapitation strike, an operation to take out the leadership. And the target? President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. He said they've been captured and are already on their way to the U.S. to stand trial. I mean, that one statement just lit a match on the whole situation, escalating it to a level we haven't seen in this region for decades.
Okay, so that covers the what. Now we have to turn to the most critical question of all. Why? What could possibly be the justification for something this extreme? Now, to get the official U.S. reasoning, you have to understand this specific term, narco-terrorism. It's a really powerful phrase, and it describes terrorist acts that are funded or carried out by drug trafficking groups. And believe me, this term is right at the heart of the American justification.
And this is where two completely different stories begin to take shape. On one hand, you have the official U.S. line, which paints this as a major law enforcement action, taking down a so-called narco-terrorist state. But a lot of geopolitical analysts are looking at this and saying, hold on a second. They're pointing to two things that have historically been huge motivators for American foreign policy. One, Venezuela's oil reserves, which are the largest in the entire world, and two, a desire to reestablish political control in a part of the world that's been slipping from U.S. influence. And it is so important to remember, this did not just happen out of the blue. This attack is really the explosive climax of years and years of bad blood between these two countries. We're talking crippling economic sanctions, nasty diplomatic fights, and huge arguments over whether Venezuelan elections were even legitimate.
Of course, an action this big doesn't happen in a bubble. It sends shockwaves all around the planet. So let's take a look at how the rest of the world is reacting.
The reaction from other powers in the region was immediate, and it was harsh. Brazil, which is the biggest and most powerful country in South America, came out and condemned the attack, saying the U.S. has, quote, crossed an inappropriate line and violated international law. That's not just a polite disagreement, that is a major slapdown from a key neighbor.
Meanwhile, from inside Venezuela, what's left of the government is calling this what you'd probably expect, an invasion. Their words were military aggression and an act of imperialism, and they've put out this powerful call for their own people to resist the American forces.
And now the diplomatic fallout is going all the way to the top. Reports are coming in that a bunch of countries are now demanding an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. They want to address what they see as a complete violation of a country's sovereignty.
So with Venezuela in chaos and the entire world watching, the question now is, what's next? What are the immediate consequences going to be, and what could happen down the line?
The fallout is already spreading out in three big ways. First, inside Venezuela, taking out the president has created this incredibly dangerous power vacuum, which could throw the country into even deeper chaos. Second, across the region, this is just pouring fuel on the fire of anti-American feelings. And third, on a global scale, all this uncertainty is already shaking up the world's oil and financial markets.
And that really leaves us with this one final massive question. Forget the immediate chaos for a second. Is it possible that this single event could fundamentally change the entire geopolitical map of Latin America for generations to come?
The world is watching.